doing the work and showing up for yourself and loving yourself, it's not that it's hard, grindy work, but it takes intention and desire and effort. This is why change is so hard. To develop a new personality and become awareness, it has to be practiced. It has to be nurtured. Much like in developing the physical body, you've got to make it an intention. You've got to go there.
"83% of Americans identify as not very happy, which can hold you back and negatively affect your relationships and your business. On this podcast, we discuss the proven steps to happiness so you can restore balance and rekindle your joy.
Welcome to another edition of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. I'm Brad Chandler, and today from South Florida, I have my man, Ramon Gonzalez. How are you today, Ray?
Les, how are you?
Man, we're going to go deep today. We're going to talk about some really, really cool things. But as you know, I like to start these podcasts out with a hard-hitting question. So tell us about the story of surviving Hurricane Ian and what made you realize, what was the pivotal moment in that storm that made you realize the importance of inner peace and happiness over material possessions?
There was a moment when I realized, all right, well, we were on the second floor, and then we had the pleasure of living right on the ocean. So the ocean was like 50 feet from us, and the waves came like 15 feet above the water. So like the car's already been gone. Like the cars were taken away in the storm, and now you couldn't go downstairs anymore because there was a wind tunnel in the stairs. And now going up was also off the picture. And then like at midnight, as this was going on, now you couldn't get out. But also you couldn't go up, and then fire alarms started going off. And at that point, I was like, I can continue to go into this. And I had my kids there too, and my wife, and just kind of realize the delicateness of it all. And it could be gone in a moment. And you just kind of surrender. You're like, look, Father, if this is your will, like I'll, so be it. And you just kind of like realize what's important. You're like, all that stuff wasn't important. What's important is me and them. But you kind of just make peace with things. And you almost make peace with, we might not make it through this. And then you just surrender in the moment. And it just happened all at once. Once I'm like, all right, I have literally no control or no say. It's a complete surrender. I can't do anything. Even if I could go downstairs, I'd be washed away, right? 15-foot waves on shore, right? So had it gone 5 more feet, had the water gone 5 more feet, would have taken the whole condo.
So are you in a condo building?
I'm in a condo building. The first floor is just parking. The second floor where we lived, which is kind of the first floor really of where you could live. So the first floor was 15 feet of water. Had it gotten 5 more feet of water, I would have taken out the balcony.
Wow.
It was 5 feet from my daughter's bedroom, the water level.
Wow.
And this is 20 feet up, right? So just grateful that the building withstood and that I'm here, and that these other things can be replaced. These material things, the car, the possessions, the things in storage, the car, all that can be replaced. Kind of the impermanent, and Buddha spoke about this. I study the masters. Like whenever I study this spiritual realm, whatever, this deeper growth, inner growth realm, I always go to the masters, whether it's Jesus, Buddha. I always like study those texts because I find that in those texts, I can find, I can get the truth that then has been diluted, or in many other ways, but I can get to the truth. And he said that he noticed the impermanence of things, that these things don't last, that the things that are born in time, die in time. So things are cool, and they're meant to be part of our experience, but they don't define us. They don't identify with them, right? And I still struggle with that because I'm human. I'm sure you do too. I'm not going to speak for you, but I think it's a transition of like, you realize that these things, they go away. And what's eternal is your soul, your consciousness. That's what really matters. That's what you take with you. You don't take any of this stuff with you. The cars, the Tesla, the boats, you don't take any of that stuff with you. All you take is your soul and your consciousness and who you are. Those moments you create, those experiences, those relationships, us talking together, that's what matters. That's what's eternal. So again, Christ said this. Christ said it too. He said it differently, right? Lay your treasures up in heaven. What do you mean by that? Lay your treasures up in consciousness. In consciousness, where moths don't destroy, where thieves don't come in and steal, right? Lay them up here in your consciousness, and that can never be taken from you.
So, Ray, was there a moment during the storm that you thought, I might perish and my entire family might perish?
Yeah, right when I surrendered. Rather than fight it, I said, all right, there's nothing I could do because there's nothing I could have done. So I was kind of like a forced surrender, almost like I could have gone into fear and panic, but the other choice is to kind of just surrender. So I just surrendered, Brad. I made a choice in that moment to surrender. I'd already been doing some of the meditation, some of the spiritual work. And this just kind of made that go even deeper, because now I've had a real experience of like, look, man, these material things you're chasing, they don't really matter. And it's not having them. It's about having them and not being attached to them.
So what was life like prior to this transformation, this time where you almost lost your life? What was life like for you?
Knowing what I know now, life was a dream, an illusion, and not a dream like, hey, this is a dream of mine. Life was a dream. I was dreaming. I wasn't in reality. So yeah, I lived oceanfront, but I really wasn't enjoying it in present. I wouldn't go to the beach as often as I would. I really wasn't present with my kids. I wasn't enjoying the sunsets, right? And one of the teachings that I follow, he says, and this is Christ talking, he says, look, the dreams you have at night are very similar to you awakening and living in the senses. If you're living in the world of the senses, and it's very similar to a dreaming state. They're identical, both are the same. You're dreaming, you're illusioning. It's not real. What's real is when you're present, when you're in the moment, when you're in the now, like with you, Brad. People can tell when you're with them, when you're in the present moment, when you're with them. And when you're not looking at things by their perceptions, you're actually being with things. You're actually being with nature. You're actually being with the sunset. So it's not about the sunset or not, but if you're thinking about, hey, I got to check my cell phone. Hey, I got to go do this. And you're not present with things. So that's what I mean by dreaming. I wasn't in the present moment. So now I'm much more in the present moment than I was then.
And was your life about chasing material possessions?
I already had some personal growth. So in my mind, it wasn't, but in my heart and my way of being, Brad, I was still doing the old thing. So I had some inclination, because I was already reading some of the spiritual books and doing some of the spiritual practices, Brad. But it takes time to go from thinking to being to doing, right? It takes time to recondition yourself, to remember who you really are. There's a process. So yeah, in my thoughts, I was like that, but in my actual way of being, I was still chasing things. I was still at lack and separation and not enough and trying to prove myself, which is kind of something that some achievers do. I was certainly guilty of, and I still do at times, right? I'm still not perfect, right? I'm human.
That's what I did for 47 years. I chased material possessions, specifically money, because I thought money would bring me happiness and it would bring me worthiness. But I didn't know consciously that I was chasing money to bring me worthiness, because I thought I was worthy. But if you looked at my results and my relationships and my business mistakes, it told a different story. So the magic is that I don't know if it's the magic. It's really interesting that myself and so many other people go about this life and they don't even realize what's driving them, because it's buried in their subconscious mind from programming from young childhood. So wow, that's amazing shift that you made. So when we talked a couple of days ago, you talked about working with Joe Dispenza. You've done some work with him. And you're going to do some more work with him. How has incorporating mindfulness, and tell us what you think mindfulness is, in meditation practices in your life, how has that impacted your ability to find happiness and navigate challenges?
So let's talk about it. So mindfulness meditation, Brad, you and I before we got off on this call, we're talking about working out and going to the gym and, fitness levels. Well, much like you would do a bicep curl to work out the bicep muscle, you do meditation to work and being in the present moment. So people think meditation is you go out for 45 minutes and you kind of like bliss out in ecstasy. No, you're just seeing that in the mind that you are not the thinker, that there's a thought, you're the thinker of the thought, that you are not the thought. Let me say that again. And sometimes you get out of the present moment and you kind of follow that thought, and then you identify with the thought. And every time you can bring the mind back to the present moment, that's a victory. That's a win. So every time that the mind goes, hey, let's go get some coffee. Hey, let's go do this. Hey, remember, we got to call that person. Hey, remember, I got to do. And hey, chill. We're going to get you some coffee. We're going to do those things. Just relax. Just be, hey, I'm in charge here. You can trust me. Relax, sit, stay. And then ultimately, the animal, the body, surrenders to you. It says, okay, you're in charge. We're going to sit here. And then ultimately, you learn to be in the present moment. And whenever it goes off track, which happens to all of us, you get to back. And the reason it's so powerful, Brad, is as you go out to make changes in your world, what you're not looking to do is go unconscious and revert back to the old Brad. Because the old Brad is still in it, right? The old Brad that wants to try and prove his worth through doing more things. Well, guess what? That's an unconscious program. So you need a will and an intention and an awareness that is much bigger than the program to overcome the program. It truly is David against Goliath. So you need that intention and that will and that awareness to overcome the old program. You can't rewrite the program from within the program. You have to get out of the program. Meditation helps you gain awareness so that you know when you're in the program. You can't fix the program from the VR headset in the program. You put the VR headset on, you can't fix it from within the VR headset. You got to take the VR headset off. What meditation allows you to do is create training so you know when you're back in the old VR headset or you have the VR headset off.
So I'm playing pickleball with my son yesterday, and I don't get he's 21 and he's always out with his friends or working, and so I got to play pickleball with him yesterday, and we played 5 games, and there was one game where it was like 9-8, and he had come back from 2 points up to 8 points, and there was a moment that I felt anxiety. And when the game was over, because we talk deep like this a lot, I told him, I go, you know what? I felt anxious for a second. And I go, I processed this. And here's what I think I came up with. I think that was the old Brad saying, if I don't win this game, I'm not going to be worthy. And you spoke about awareness through my work and through meditation. Now I can look at that and I can say, this is why. I used to play golf. And when I would deem I was playing in a big golf tournament, I would get really nervous to the point where I had to drink a lot. Well, what would happen is I would get nervous and I'd be like, you're an idiot. Why are you getting nervous? And I would exacerbate the vicious cycle, right? Now, within seconds, I can get out of it because I know, why am I feeling that way? It's not my fault. It's my survival brain, just like it is yours who's listening right now. If you get mad or angry and upset at your kids or your wife for saying something, it's not your fault. It's because your programming is going back to a time in your childhood where you felt threatened and your brain's doing its job. It's just surviving. So awareness is so important in this healing journey and to getting to the place of like true joy in life.
No, I'll add a few things to that, Brad. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You're only aware of what your consciousness is aware of. Meaning, if you're not conscious of this thing out there, you can't experience that, right? And then further, you will only believe, accept, and surrender to any information equal to the emotional state you're in. Meaning, if I'm trying to talk to you about joy, but you're pissed up and upset and trying to prove yourself, you can't receive joy, right? If you're in the emotional state of vulnerability or lack, you can't receive abundance. You can't even see it. It goes right by you. Like, you could have opportunities everywhere, all around you. But if you're stuck in lack and in separation, you'll never see it. So, like, sometimes abundance is all around you, but you never see it because you don't have the consciousness of abundance. You don't have the awareness of abundance. So, like, but you can train that like a muscle, much like everything else we did. All the ascended masters have trained this one way, whether it's through meditation, through prayer, through whatever practices they use, spiritual practice. But everyone has mastered consciousness through awareness and intention, 100%.
Is another way to say that, Ray, the way that I explain it, and tell me if you agree, is that if you can't see abundance around you because you're in this negative state, you're really in a fight or flight. And if you're in a fight or flight, you've got the proverbial lion chasing you that's like 2 steps behind you, right? And you're just trying to outrun it. So how can you see the abundance around you? So when you do the work and you kill that proverbial lion, then you can take a deep breath and look around and be like, oh my gosh, look at the abundance. And what is my purpose in life? I don't know if you found this. I think you did. I'll ask you. But within hours, days, weeks, months, not many, of doing the work and having my major transformation, I found my life's purpose. And it's this work.
Me too.
So it's another benefit that comes from doing the work. You get to see the abundance, but you also get to find your purpose. Did you find your purpose through doing the work?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately the work became the purpose. Like, it's just part of it. So me getting up in the morning and doing the meditations and opening the heart, and incorporating this the way of being, I'm dedicated the rest of my life to it. Like, it's what it wants to do. I've surrendered to what is your will, not my will. Forget my little Ray will, like, forget his will. Like, what is the divine will? What is the heart will? What does it want to do? And it wants to serve and love and share this with people so that they can find their own path to awakening, enlightenment, to peace, to joy, to fulfillment. Because, Brad, the other way of being, the way of lack and separation and that tiger, you'll never experience fulfillment, peace, love, joy. It'll never bring you that. The material things will never bring you that.
And you'll never experience deeply connected relationships either.
Which is the treasure of the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what is more important in this world than deeply connected relationships?
Dude, Brad, let's back up before that. What about a deep relationship with yourself?
Well, you have to have that to get the deep relationship with someone else. Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about most people, Brad, you take a prisoner who does something terrible, and rather than put him with the other prisoners, you put them in solitary confinement. let his own mind beat him up. I mean, we're just kind of trained. Society has trained us to not to be with yourself, to not to listen to those thoughts. But you're not the thought. You're the thinker of the thought. You're the Atman. You're the presence. You're the soul, the spirit behind the thought. Your true self.
I missed your point about the solitary confinement. Tell me more about what you were trying to.
Well, you take a prisoner and you put him in solitary confinement and let him punish himself with his thoughts. The scariest thing for a prisoner, Brad, is to be with his own thoughts.
To be with his own thoughts. Wow.
Himself. Think about it. You take an animal, right, who's done something bad, and you put him by himself.
Yeah. While we're speaking of prisons, I'm going to say a couple of comments. Number one, most of us, until we do the work, are stuck in an invisible prison that we don't even realize, because these thoughts, these subconscious thoughts, drive 95% of our behavior on a daily basis, and we don't know it. So just wanted to share that. And the second thing is, I think about juvenile detention and adult detention too, but let's just use juveniles. So why does a child misbehave? A child misbehaves usually for one reason and one reason only. They lack connection. They lack connection with a parent, which means they lack connection with themselves. What does the legal system do? They stick them into a home. They stick them into a juvenile detention center. That is the last thing these kids need. They already lack love and connection. You think it's going to fix them by putting them in a juvenile, detention center? No. So anyway.
Yeah, we'll talk. We're doing a big initiative with actually some of the Joe Dispenza group here in Naples, where we're going into the prison cells in Mexico. We put out a proven concept, and we're going to the mothers and we're healing them by doing the meditative work and going into their hearts. And then we can heal the kids. See, if the mother still have a heart trauma or the mother are on drugs, she can never have a relationship with the kids. But if we can heal the moms and have the moms get off drugs and stop selling these kids and getting into drug trafficking and human trafficking and all that, and have the moms then heal the kids, then we can stop some of these foster programs. So we've got the proven concept. So our goal is to bring it here to the U.S. So we're going to be having them come over in January to show us here how to do that. If you want, I'll invite you in January. And we're going to learn how to do that because let's solve the root problem. The root problem is the love of self. Learning to love yourself, your true self. That, I think, is the root of all problems. Please
do include me in that. I just didn't know how to get into the prison system, but I thought that would be amazing because all of those guys are in there, women and guys and girls. It's not their fault, in the sense that it's not their fault that they weren't loved or treated a certain way as a child. It doesn't make it right what they did, but there's a reason that they're there. They're in prison. Their reason for being in prison is the same reason I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about the listener, has a crappy marriage or can't lose weight or is addicted to something or has depression and anxiety. We're all one here.
Well, so Brad, my teacher said it well. One of my favorite teachers: forgive them, for they know not what they do. For they know not what they do. He was literally saying, they are insane. They're in their wrong mind. They have lost their mind. He could forgive them because he could see their truth. Like you and I are seeing that prisoner's truth. That prisoner's truth, he's a beautiful soul. We see the truth of that prisoner. He just did a behavior that wasn't in alignment with the highest good, right? And that behavior has some consequences, but he is not that behavior.
I love going to the parents because when I have people come to me and say, hey, can you help my child? I say, sure, I can help your child. But when I put them back into the environment that created this, they're going to go right back. So if you have children with behavioral problems, you have to look at yourself as parents because it usually is the parents. The cause is the parents. Now, is that to be like you're a bad parent? Nope, just the opposite. Again, you're doing the best you can. I had 2 kids with anxiety issues. Why did they have anxiety? It wasn't because of COVID. It wasn't because of school. It was because of me and their mother. And when I did the work, guess what? Here we are 2 years later. Neither of my kid has anxiety. So if you want to fix your child, if your child has OCD or is acting out in school or has depression or anxiety, you have to focus on yourself, because if you don't fix yourself, there's no chance that child's ever going to be fixed.
And the best way to do that is to model it, to demonstrate it, Brad. So I'm proud of you doing that for your kids. I mean, that's one of the biggest things why I'm doing this work is that, I've got some anxiety and depression issues and I'm working through them. And really, I want to be present for my kids. I want to show them better, right? So but the best way to do that is you live the example. You be the demonstration. You go out there and you do it, because Brad, let's real talk. Doing the work and showing up for yourself and loving yourself, it's not that it's like hard, grindy work, but it takes intention and desire and effort. This is why change is so hard, Brad. To develop a new personality and become awareness, it has to be practiced. It has to be nurtured. Much like you and I in developing the physical body, you've got to make it an intention. You've got to go there. And sometimes you don't want to go. Sometimes whatever, right? But if you're going to dedicate to being healthy and fit, then you've got to make the commitment to be healthy and fit. And you've got to develop the new personality, the new habits, everything that goes along with that healthy and fitness lifestyle. You have to become that. And it takes time. And yeah, the old self, the old person likes to eat donuts and cookies and do all that stuff and not go to the gym. You've got to overcome that person. And that person conscious, and it thinks it runs the show. So it takes a lot of will. This is why I said it truly is David against Goliath. It takes a lot of will, energy, heart to overcome your old personality.
But I will say, Ray, if you know the cause, it makes it a lot easier. Because most people are trying to not eat that extra donut or come home and drink the 3 glasses of wine, and they have no idea why they want to do it in the first place. It's because they want to cover up some pain. So when you can go back and you can figure out what are the scenes in your childhood that caused this pain, and what were the meanings that you placed on those, and were they true? They're never true, because as human beings, we can't suffer if we live in the truth. And the one untruth that more of us lives with than any is that I'm not enough. So when you can go back and you can figure out, you know what? My dad hitting me and making fun of me as a child, where it made me feel not enough, that had nothing to do with me. You could have put John or Sally or Harry in my position and he would have done the same thing. So I will say it becomes a lot easier to make these changes once you understand what's been driving your behavior your whole life.
Yeah, no, and to go back to the question you asked, I think that becomes a lot easier. A tool to see that is meditation. Meditation helps you see that.
Sure.
Otherwise, you see it and you just operate within the program, right? Because if you can't see that you're operating in the program, then you become the program. And then in the program, you and I know this, Brad, you suffer by default. If you're in that program, all you do is suffer.
Yeah. Well, so meditation is phenomenal. Love it. It's been a big part. One of the tools that I have in my toolkit is I'm a certified hypnosis therapist. So I can actually go back and we dive into the subconscious mind that knows the source of all of your problems. And boom, like in 2 or 3 hours, we've got this, major new trajectory for you. So Ray, heart math, that's MATH, heart math and heart coherence are intriguing concepts, at least to me. Can you explain how understanding and working with the Heart's Creative Center has influenced your own journey to happiness?
So heart math, what I realized is, that I saw the movie, that movie you sent me, that book, The Miracle, last night.
The Way of Miracles. Yeah, it's an amazing documentary on Gaia.
Yeah, The Way of Miracles on Gaia. So I saw it. And on there, the director of Heart Math is the one talking about the heart and opening the heart. I don't know if you caught that. He's on there. Yeah. So
wow.
Again, you'll see the director of Heart Math. He's talking about the science, so the science he's talking about, he's a PhD, and they've done all the studies about the heart. So what they've realized now through 30, 40 years of study is that the heart has its own nervous system, and that the heart actually sends more information to the brain than the brain does to the heart. They've also realized that the heart's got a 3-foot diameter and it sends out information. So when you meet someone new, the heart has already met that person. The heart has a divine intuition, an intuition about it. It knows, it has a wisdom to it, right? That's where the mind is for thinking and discernment, and the mind memorizes things, but the heart knows, feels things. The heart has intuition. The heart has wisdom. So the brain sends out a 3-inch one. The heart, 3 feet. Right? And the heart sends more signals to the brain. So if you can actually open into this and open up the heart and focus your intention, almost a meditation of the heart, where you can send your attention and your intention and your attention to the heart and open it up and like breathe into the heart and feel feelings of gratitude, the heart then sends signals to the brain. They become coherent. Coherent means they become aligned. The brain start to be informed by the heart. And then the brain then sends that information back to the heart, and they are coherent. And you can measure this through HRV, and they have another measurement. They have a little tool that you can put on your finger and on your ear, and it'll measure this, and you can do different exercises to improve your heart coherence. I call it a Wi-Fi. If that Wi-Fi is off, you're back to the program. If that Wi-Fi is gone and you're out of your heart, you're back to the old program. You're back to survival. Because when the heart opens, Brad, now the lion is no longer there, because you said it perfectly, Brad. The lion, the tiger was an illusion. It's never real. So when you open up the heart, now you can finally trust and surrender. The heart is the creative center. It's where you want to create from, right? And the heart has to be open. But what happens, Brad, over the years is we close the heart. And if the heart closed, you're in trouble. It's not a place to create. It's not safe to create. It's not safe to trust. So that's what it's done for me.
And we typically close the heart because as children, we go through stressful times and we feel bad and we feel pain. So we're like, we don't want to feel this pain. So we close our heart. We disassociate. We disconnect. Every problem we have in this world is a disconnection from our own heart, right? So it's just the brain's, it's your body's way of surviving. And once you recognize this, you can open your heart back up, because as a 47-year-old, as a 37-year-old, as a 60-year-old, you don't need your parents' love anymore. But until you do the work, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between 67 and 6 years old. So you're still living as a 6-year-old inside a 67-year-old adult body until you do the work and you bring that 6-year-old up into your current life. And then everything changes and you can open up your heart and you can learn to love again. It's a beautiful thing. So
right. The love, dude. You can learn to unconditionally love, because the love that we're taught with a closed heart isn't love. It's conditional love. Hey, I love you if you do this and this and this and this. But it's not unconditional. And the heart, man, the heart is the one that forgives. The heart is the one that has compassion, that is kind. Like these treasure of the heart, and you and I have spoken about it before, Brad, not just like the physical heart, but then when you connect the physical heart to the one heart, to the energetic heart, the one heart that everybody has, dude, magic happens.
Yeah, no kidding. So I know you've worked with some entrepreneurs in the past. What are some practical steps or exercises that they can implement right now, today, tomorrow, to bring more energy and intention into their lives and ultimately find happiness in their entrepreneurial journey?
Slow down will be number one. Slow down. And I need to hear that myself too. So slow down, which is what I got from the accident. So right after the hurricane, a month after, I bought a new car. And within a week, I hadn't even filled up the gas tank. I got into a car accident. The car flipped 3 or 4 times. I went unconscious. I ended up in a ditch. And they had to take me out by one of the sides. And then the other guy got airlifted. So, I mean, God bless his soul. I don't know what happened to him, but my prayers still got to him and his family. And I learned that. From the second near-death experience. Was like, dude, slow down. What is the rush? And again, this is where meditation comes in too. Slow down. Like, what is there to achieve? Like this achievement and like how to balance. I think the question was how to balance. I'm looking at the ones you sent me. How to balance their drive for achievement with the pursuit of inner happiness and peace. Don't balance it. Make it one. Right now, Brad, the life you and I are living is a heart-centered life. So we're not trying to balance one thing with the other. They go together. We're doing things, right? We show up to things, but we're not doing one thing on this side and one thing on the other. It all flows together, right? So, what I'm looking to share with you is, hey, you achieve, and you do all these things, and you're separate from things, and you're trying to prove your worth, and you're trying to do all these things, and you get all these things, but ultimately you end up unfulfilled. So let's change the formula around where we start with wholeness. We start with the open heart. We start with peace. We start with love. We start with worthiness. We start at abundance. We don't get to abundance. We start at abundance. And from there we do. And now what happens is that these experiences, these things we get, they just enhance our abundance. They enhance our peace. They make more of that. But we're not separate from it. You can't start from separation and have a path of struggle, lack, hard, clunky, misery, and then end at joy. That'll never work. Let's flip the script. Let's open the heart. Let's be in the present moment. Let's connect what we want to feel at the end. Let's be peace. Let's be joy. Let's be connected to that outcome. Let's not be separate. Let's be whole now. So I'm not looking for my $1 million out there. I'm whole right now. And yeah, we're going to create that, but it's already a part of me. And now we go out there and flow and experience these things, and we still go out there and do things, but we're not doing from separation. And along the way, we experience peace, love, joy, abundance. And then when we ultimately get the things, not only is it going to happen a lot faster and a lot sooner because the universe is with us, right? So it happens a lot faster and sooner, and the heart then draws it to us, but then it expands more fulfillment. We already fulfilled now, and then we just get more fulfillment later. And these things, again, for thousands of years, these are just the added things. And now they just add to your being. But you were never separate from it. You don't need these things to bring you wholeness or worthiness. You already, all along the way, you're enjoying the process, you're worthy, and then these things add more fun to life.
Yeah. And so I'm going to add on to what you said. What you said was beautiful. So many entrepreneurs start businesses unknowingly to make a bunch of money, to prove their worth, to find happiness. then a lot of them make the money and they become financially successful, but they're disconnected, not whole. They have bad relationships. They're in, addiction, weight issues. What if you could get whole today through doing the work with someone like myself or Ray? Once you do the work, the chances of you making the money that you wanted to make are exponentially higher, but then you get to have the money and the connection and the open heart and the love. Like, that's what I call true success, is to have the financial freedom. But true freedom only comes through self-love and self-compassion. So instead of chasing the money to get to the freedom, you chase the freedom to get to the money and the eventual freedom.
Yeah, and you don't even chase it. You realize your truth, that you are it already. There's no chasing. It's already inside you. All these things, self-compassion and self-love, are already a part of you. I mean, our teacher said it well. The kingdom is inside you. The kingdom is you. It's already all in there. Just take some time, go inside and connect it. But if you don't connect it through whatever means you use, meditation, prayers, a million things you can use to get in there. But if you don't connect with it, then it doesn't exist for you. And then kind of the other thing I said, I thought you said beautifully, Brad, was if you go by the old model, hey, I'm going to get this money, I'm going to create these things from separation. And then you actually get the things where you and I have been fortunate enough where it's like we actually get the things, we actually get the money. Now you have to look for an escape because what you thought was going to work doesn't work. So now you need the weed. Now you need the alcohol. Now you need something else to fill that gaping void that you thought that thing was going to give you, but it was always inside. So now you don't need the escape.
So 3 years ago, if we're having this conversation, I'd have been the guy that said, hey, I love myself. I've got self-love. And I think you would have too. But the truth was I didn't. So if you have any of these things we're talking about, working too much or eating too much or anxiety, depression, weight issues, go take a simple 3-minute quiz at bradchandler.com/quiz. And it will tell you, it will give you a roadmap and it will give you the awareness that will allow you to change. So Ray, this has been amazing. Hey, how do people get in touch with you?
You can send me an email. Brad, you can put my email on and share with them. You can get me on Insta at official Ramon Gonzalez. I'm on Facebook as Ramon Gonzalez as well. YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel where I put all this content out. It's called Committed Conscious Collective. So Committed Conscious Collective on the YouTube, Brad, you can post all that. And I'd love to serve you guys any way I can and share more love and just share our journey. I think there's power in us sharing our story. We don't have everything figured out, but we're committed to the process and just love to serve as the example for you guys.
Absolutely. And we need you. We need you listeners to help us because we can't do this alone. So whether that's, becoming whole yourself and reconnecting with yourself, sharing this message. If you like this podcast, please share it, please rate it, please like it so we can get more movement towards this peace and happiness because you deserve deeply connected relationships. You deserve to live a joyful life. You don't deserve to live a suffering life. And don't believe anyone who tells you. And if you're suffering, you're just living in this truth, this untruth that you're not enough and you are enough. So thanks, Ray. That concludes another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. And we'll see you on the next show. Till then, love heals all.
Thank you.
Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out on more life-changing content. And if you're struggling, you don't have to. Go to bradchandler.com/contact. There, you can join the Facebook community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and you'll see a button to schedule your freedom and happiness call. See you on the next episode.